Our next guest is a great friend of Outsiders. He's been on the show here in Australia. He's been to Australia, as well as, of course, from the States. He specialises in Middle East security issues and is a senior fellow at Hudson Institute. And apart from boasting of his regular appearances on Outsiders, one of the highlights of his CV, the other one is that Michael Doran also served in the White House as a senior director in the National Security Council in the administration of President George W. Bush. Michael Doran, welcome back to Outsiders. How are you, mate?
Fantastic. Great to be here. How are you?
Yeah, we're very well. We're hoping that you can shed a little bit of light for your Australian fans on what this Obamagate thing is all about, and more importantly, where could it end up going? Is Obama in serious trouble, and if so, why?
Well, I'll be very surprised if President Obama is actually in trouble, but his legacy, I think, has been severely tarnished, and mainly now around this General Flynn question, but all signs are it's going to get a lot worse.
Rita.
Well, you say his legacy may be tarnished, but the bulk of the media is still treating this like it's some sort of a conservative conspiracy theory. They are maintaining the only controversy he had was wearing a tan suit. Do you think there really will be the scrutiny of this story and what happened that there should be?
I don't think it'll ever get in the mainstream media the scrutiny that it deserves, and the inability of the mainstream media to admit now that there's considerable evidence that General Flynn was framed is really amazing. But I notice a couple of things. One is that the conviction, I think, is eroding a little bit when they're mouthing the talking points that they've been telling us for the last 3 years. And the second is, I think that there are going to be some indictments, and I think they're going to be coming soon. This is from the John Durham investigation. The prosecutor that Attorney General Barr designated very quietly to go to work on this. All signs are that there are actually going to be some indictments.
Yes.
James.
But isn't really, Mike, the big story here that ultimately the whole narrative around the Russia collusion plot, the idea that Trump was somehow an agent of Russia, that they had some compromising tape on him, that all of this has fallen apart and that a credible media, a credulous media, fell for this for 3 or 4 years because they couldn't accept the idea of Donald Trump. I mean, I want to play this grab we had here from CNN when James Clapper basically admitted that the whole thing was a phony. Have a look at this.
Asking for names, nothing wrong with that. Unmasking in and of itself, nothing wrong with that. Leaking classified information, and by definition, these phone calls were classified. That's a problem, correct?
Absolutely, it is.
And if anyone did leak the contents of these conversations, with or without the name, that would be a problem, yes? We've lost the shot. I wonder if we can at least get him on the phone to finish this. Let's try to get Director Clapper back. All right, we're going to work on getting that shot.
So we've had a concession that there was none of this, you know, the whole thing that the media told us, and that everybody who was out there telling us, you know, this was going to be this huge thing that bring down the president, turns out to have been a big nothing burger.
Totally, absolutely nothing. And, you know, you said that they were credulous. I'm afraid it was actually worse than that. My friend Lee Smith wrote an op-ed the other day saying, don't expect the mainstream media to actually ever admit that they made a mistake, because they were in on it from the beginning. And I think there's a lot of truth to that, unfortunately.
Mike, the news just in from the States, the report that the Democratic National Conference Committee, emails published by WikiLeaks in 2016 were not obtained via a Russian hack or cybersecurity, cybersecurity and intelligence experts are claiming. So the more we go into this, the more it was, as James said, a big nothing burger. How will this impact on Joe Biden as we head into the election, assuming he's a candidate?
I think it will impact very badly. And one of the things that we just discovered is that Joe Biden was among the 50-some-odd people who unmasked General Flynn's name in a 3-week period. These are Obama officials, meaning General Flynn, the incoming national security advisor. his name was masked when it came up in foreign surveillance, when the intelligence was surveilling a foreigner like the ambassador Kislyak, and an American person is named. In order to protect the privacy of that person, you have to mask the name. The Obama officials were unmasking at an absolutely unprecedented rate. It's the mainstream media is now saying this is all natural and normal. I served in the White House. I've actually unmasked people. It happens very rarely and for special reasons. They were clearly using this foreign surveillance as a way of keeping tabs on what the Trump administration was doing. And now we know that Biden was himself playing a role in that.
Unbelievable, unbelievable. Rita, you wanted to ask Mike about the star, Trump's new star, Kayleigh McEnany.
Yeah, well, Kayleigh is the new White House press secretary, and she has been very strong. She was asked about this entire Obamagate story, and let's have a quick look at part of her response.
Obamagate, what is it? What are the elements of that crime?
Yeah, I'm really glad you asked, because there hasn't been a lot of journalistic curiosity on this front, and I'm very glad that you asked this question. Look, there were a number of questions raised by the actions of the Obama administration. The Steele dossier, funded by the Democratic National Committee, the opposition political party to the president, was used to attain FISA warrants to listen in on conversations of people within the Trump campaign. There was the unmasking the identity of Michael Flynn.
To be clear, I heard you mention one thing you said was criminal, and that was what?
The one thing that I've said that was criminal,
right.
The leaking of his name and the very real questions that have been raised. But if you want to start talking about wrongdoing in the administration, happy to go through Andy McCabe leaking to the Wall Street Journal and then lying about it. Happy to talk about James Clapper lying before Congress, saying the NSA does not monitor phone calls. That was an inaccuracy. So I would point you to those and the many other real questions that I hope you all will pursue.
So is the president saying that those people should be jailed, the people you just mentioned?
I never said that. Those are your words, not mine. But perhaps you should look into it and get me some answers. That is, after all, the job. That is, after all, the job of reporters, to answer the very questions that I've laid out, and I hope you guys will take the time to do it.
Fantastic. She's great. Mike, what do you make of her?
I agree with you. She's wonderful. And, you know, the number of people now who have followed this very closely and are not fooled by what the press is saying is really phenomenal. Yeah, you know, there was a Gallup approval rating of the president today. He's at his highest numbers ever, or tied with his highest numbers. And that's after 3 years of this relentless attacks against him. And it just shows that people are not listening anymore to the media. And that allows a talented spokeswoman like her to sort of just talk right over the heads of the press to the people.
And finally, Mike, before we go, coronavirus and China, how is that playing out? It's a huge topic, I know, but just in a minute, if you can give us your thoughts on how that's all playing out, particularly the relationship with China.
I think that there's no doubt now. I was in a call about. There's no doubt that the U.S.-China rivalry is going to intensify significantly. I was on a call with a bunch of foreign policy experts, which included senior Democratic foreign policy experts last week, and just about everyone was in total agreement. I was surprised in this moment of great polarization how much we are in agreement about that fact.
James?
And I just want to ask, Mike, on this question of China, how damaging has it been to the United States that for the last 3 years there's been so much focus on this nonsense Russia scandal when there wasn't any focus either in the media and probably with a lot of intelligence resources also diverted to this other thing, to dealing with Chinese infiltration, the rise of China, Chinese trade war, intellectual property theft, and everything else? I mean, it seems to me that focusing so much on Russia has allowed China to just have a free ride for years now.
James, I totally agree with you. I mean, we've been chasing our tail for 3 years while the Chinese have been getting a lot stronger. The Chinese, there were a number of Chinese spying scandals during the Obama administration, very significant ones, including having an agent in Dianne Feinstein's office, including the hack of the all of the names of anyone who's ever worked for U.S. intelligence. I mean, it's just phenomenal. And we haven't been talking about that at all. And that's clearly the issue of the day. The damage that this Russiagate fraud has done to the image of the United States, to our ability to have a coherent foreign policy, is just phenomenal.
Rita, last question. Thanks.
Well, we've had the truth come out now, but do you think the damage is done? Because there is a significant percentage of Democrat voters who still believe that Russia fixed the election, that there wasn't just collusion, there was some sort of voter fraud at play. Is that something that can ever be addressed, or are those people going to be set in their beliefs after 3.5 years of saturation media coverage in that direction?
I think that there's a certain percentage of the population that you'll never be able to convince, and we just have to accept that. We're looking at those people in the middle, the undecided voters who can actually be swayed. And I think in that regard, everyone can see now that there was this incredible hysteria at the beginning of the Trump administration. All of these accusations about Putin having sex tapes of Trump, you name it, and none of it came true. None of it. So I think, maybe I'm a little naive, but I still think that truth matters, and that things like that work. They work on people in ways that they might not even be aware of themselves.
Truth matters, absolutely. Thanks so much, Michael Doran, for speaking to Outsiders again, and we'll speak to you soon. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.